Somebody else would help.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January 9th, 2014. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and prominently posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board and filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our workshop session.
Good evening, Mayor.
I'd like to ask everyone to silence their portable communication devices. Put them on vibrate, and if you must take a call, please do so out in the hall. It would be greatly appreciated. We're going to start the meeting off tonight with the presentation to Ms. Heather Marino. Heather represents our Garwood ShopRite, and this is a presentation with regard to National Nutrition Month. And I'm going to ask Heather to step over here, and I'm going to come down here. Whereas food is a substance by which life is sustained, and whereas the type, quality, and amount of food that individuals consume each day plays a vital role in their overall health and physical fitness, and whereas there is a need for continuing nutrition education and a wide-scale effort to enhance healthy eating practices. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Petrocchi, Mayor of the Borough of Garwood, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2014 as National Nutrition Month in the Borough of Garwood. And whereas I encourage all citizens to join the campaign and become concerned about their nutrition and the nutrition of others in the hope of achieving optimum health for today and tomorrow. And this was adopted February 11, 2014 with regard to the upcoming month of March. And I would like to welcome Heather here. She's with the ShopRite, and they have very graciously brought some refreshments. So whenever anybody wants to step up and help themselves, if you do so quietly, we'll just continue through the meeting. Okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything? Or
I just want to thank you for declaring National Nutrition Month. It's a great campaign to get involved in at the ShopRite of Garwood. Our motto is helping families live better. And one way they're doing that is by having me on staff. I'm a full-time registered dietitian there. And all nutrition services are free. So whether it's one-on-one counseling, store tours, community events, I go into senior citizens' homes, school systems. I educate our community. I educate our customers in store. So it really is a great program, and I encourage everyone to take advantage of it. It's a great opportunity for your families. Whether you just want to eat better or you have a medical condition that you need help with. So I just want to thank you again, and I hope you guys come visit me at the Garwood ShopRite and use my services and keep nutrition in your mind during the month of March.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, those are for you as well. Yeah, there's some goodie bags back there.
We're going to deviate a little off from our regular business that we would normally jump right into. And the next item on the workshop agenda is a report from our business and industry representative liaison, Carol Hardy. Carol, you can sit down if you want or stand.
Oh, thank you. I'd rather sit. If I need to read, I'll never remember what. Good evening, Mayor and Council. First up, I'd like to give a report on the Chamber of Commerce and give you updates. Businesses in Garwood and our four surrounding towns are taking total advantage of the benefits that the Greater Western New York Chamber of Commerce is offering. Locally in town here, we've had two networking events. We had one at Rosie's Wine Bar. We had 47 attendees. They come from all other towns. Some people know Rosie, some people don't. Rosie has had booked several parties from our networking event. People have, oh, this is a nice place, I had a birthday here. Also, Benvenuti we had about 45 attendees at the meeting. That there was a hit for him because it was the Tuesday before Super Bowl and he wound up with several bookings out of it. You know, we're bringing people into town that don't know about our businesses here and we're highlighting them. Also, just this past weekend, we had 2 grand openings. The Juice House opened on North Avenue, the mayor and several, Bill Mearstad was there, and several of our representatives from the Chamber of Commerce, including Heather Robinson, our executive director, were all there. It was very successful. From there, we moved on to Jen Fit. She opened up. She's a Westfield girl. Hers was also very successful. She had people that are very interested in the program. She's running a highly specialized. It's not like furniture, gold medal, it's totally different. I have, in the future, in March and April, I have 2 grand openings and 2 more openings for two other businesses in town. So we're moving along at a very fast pace. Our business community is important in the borough. Our executive director, Heather, and Chris Devine, our chair, along with Paul Egoff. Actually, Paul is the COO at the Garwood Family Center, and she lives in town. We're very visible in the businesses, and we call them constantly. We stop by whenever anybody's around. Anybody, if Chris or Heather or one of our board members, they'll always stop in one of the businesses and just introduce themselves and see if there's anything we can do. Okay, next on the agenda is my favorite, Garwood Rocks. Poster, Garwood Rocks. Planning to have an event here in town on June 8th from 10 to 5 on Center Street. And I'm here before the council because I need your approval to run this event. This event is different from any of the events that Westfield or Cranford run. It's going to be music, cars, shopping, and family fun. The Greater Westfield Area Chamber is supporting this event. It's going to be a classic car show. We're going to have music, which is going to be provided by Crossroads. It's going to be all day. We're going to have festival food, kids zone. Kids zone is where we're really zoning in on. The Garwood Family Center stepped up. They're going to do an entranceway on Beach and Center. Down to, we're going to have kids on here, we're going to have the petting zoo, blow-up rides, the Batmobile, Back to the Future cars, and head on down Beach to the Family Center where they are going to run events the entire day. They're inviting 200 to 300 families there for end-of-year programs. They are going to have many free items for all family members to enjoy, from small children right on up to adults. The police department has been very helpful. Their I think captain reached out to the county to see if they can bring some of their, I think they call it the bear, which is their armored car, truck or whatever. And he was going to, captain was going to try to get the robots from Bomb Squad. And Tina brought up a good point. We can invite the fire department, have a fire truck. This is all going to be in the kids' area, because this is something that they would love, love to be involved in. So I'm looking for your support for this event. It's contracted already. We have a professional company that's coming in to do it. This is a production. And along with the police department, the fire department, my 2 members, Tina and Mike, put a lot of work into getting this to where it is today. So I'm looking for your support.
Just so everybody knows, the mayor and council have to authorize the closing of the streets by resolution. That's what's before you. It's not on the agenda. If you so inclined to authorize this, I will read it later, delete it from the consent agenda.
Oh, excuse me, there's one thing I forgot to skip over. We also are going to have NASCARs here. Rich Bodmer, who runs the event at the Westfield Armory, is going to bring his NASCARs in. So, they may have to be flat it in, but they'll be here.
I just want to thank Carol for doing all this wonderful work to try to bring this to Garwood. I mean, you know, all of us are really about anything to do with the chamber of business and industry, or any business-related activity, whether it be in the chamber or through other means. We want to try to put Garwood on the map, and I think this is going to go a long way towards doing that. It's really going to be quite an event. I think Carol's been pretty modest when she has described this, but it's also going to include an actual car show in addition to the NASCAR program that we're going to have. And we have a professional disc jockey lined up to come, Hot Rod Mike. Many of you have probably been to events where you've seen him. He's going to do it. The organization that Carol mentioned is one that does the two events that Westfield has every year, the Spring into Fling, all that, whatever the hell. So we're very happy to be working with them, and they developed a lot of collateral material for us already, which is
one part of it. We have many sponsors also that we're reaching out to. We have some that are already stepped up, and we're looking for some more letters. Will be going out, but they need the approval before we go forward with this year. And we're running really short on time because it's too late. So, Heather, you want to get up and
Heather Robinson, do you need my dress?
No.
Okay.
your title.
Executive Director of the Greater Westfield Area Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for letting me say a couple of words. First, most importantly, just thank you. I'm going to back up what Mike had to say about the work that Carol's putting into this. I'm getting to just kind of like, you know, do all sorts of other stuff, which, as you can imagine, doesn't really involve a lot of bonbons and put my feet up. But your work is amazing. The poster looks great. I mean, certainly I'm following along, and Garwood is very important to us as a chamber. You know, I live in Westfield myself, but I live in the part of Westfield that backs right up to ShopRite and Rosie's and all this. And it's funny because even though I live in Westfield, I feel like I kind of live in Garwood too. My kids take lessons at RMC Studios. I love Jenny Fit, and I mean, I'm in ShopRite nonstop, and I'm constantly transacting business personally in Westfield, as is my entire neighborhood. I mean in Garwood, as is my entire neighborhood. So, yeah, that's really why when you know, the Westfield Chamber long ago changed its name, we really it was already happening that all of our towns are so close together. We're constantly in each other's towns doing business, and by working all together and being respectful of the differences and also the uniqueness in the various different communities, we can just be enriched by that. And as business people, I believe it actually creates more by doing that. So this is fabulous. And This Is It Productions has a long-standing relationship with our chamber on running the Westfield street fairs that we've done. I think that relationship is 8 or 9 years old, and I have the utmost respect for Deanna Hunt, who is the owner, and who I'm always dealing directly with her. She's responsive. She's professional. I've never had anything but good things to say about it. So I'm really excited about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
You want to go ahead?
May I ask a few questions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Carol. If we could just go back to those grand openings. I mean, grand openings are great to see that businesses are coming into Garwood and opening. And even the 2 re-openings that you mentioned.
The two Dunkin' Donuts.
You didn't mention which ones they were. You said you had 2
I did.
re-openings.
Dunkin' Donuts and Ben Beauty.
Okay. And do you just, personal level, I'm just interested when Muya Burger may be opening?
Muya?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a date yet.
Okay, just wondering, to see that, every time we go past there, I look to see if there's a day movement.
Actually, he's in Texas this week.
Okay.
Training.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
If I may, Mayor, thanks. First of all, I have to just say a big thank you to Carol for all of your hard work on this. And Heather, thank you for coming tonight. I've been fortunate to attend a few chamber events And it's really, you're a great bunch of people with a lot of passion for promoting businesses, and it's not just about passing out business cards. It really goes beyond that, and I've seen that firsthand. And, you know, I can't thank you enough for bringing this car show, street fair, kids fun fest. I mean, we keep going with the names for it, I guess. In June, I think that will be really something for the town, and so, you know, I can't thank you enough for that.
And one more quick thing, actually, May.
Yes.
We have a working date of May 15th for one of our longtime and valued members, the Westwood, to be having, we're gonna be doing a sales training breakfast, sponsored by the chamber, where we're gonna actually reach out to adjacent chambers, you know, invite all the area business people to come and be interested and, you know, get that. So that's May 15th, probably.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, a couple quick ones?
Yeah.
Thank you both, obviously. Carol, I'm always torn with things like this. Obviously, I support this. I'm always torn between blindly just saying yes and going forward and micromanaging. So, couple of quick questions.
Go forward.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna make it quick. I'm gonna make it quick because I don't want to get into all that.
Recycling containers.
Well, yeah, you are gonna have, good point. You are gonna have recycling containers.
Deanna Hunt was here today, and that was the first thing that Tina asked her. What about the recycling containers? They
Okay.
will be up and down.
Good,
Center
because
Street.
I won't get into that, but that's really good. That's really good. I appreciate
Okay,
that.
and Heather, did you set up SLAP already?
I have
You haven't
not
heard back?
heard back from the sergeant.
Okay.
I spoke to Sergeant Gardner and it is on.
It's on.
tremendous.
Okay.
Right. What I was gonna ask is how, and Chief, I don't know this is for you, parking, people coming, where are we directing people to park?
Right now, we're in the planning stages. We've talked about the use of the parking lots over here and a few other places, so
Okay, good.
we're working on it.
Good. Yeah, I realize it takes time and everything else. That's great, because it's a great event, bring lots of people in. I know we don't have the big parking lots that Westfield and Cranford have, so, great. Other than that, I can't mark on my calendar because my phone is off, but I will.
I'll call you and remind you. It runs away from me if he sees me.
I guess one last comment. This is really like, you know, almost, this is Carol's analogy, as a matter of fact. It's almost like starting a new business. I mean, we're getting, you know, going out on a limb here. You know, it's gonna take a lot to, you know, balance the books. We need to have a good participation from a lot of people. We need Garwood residents to show up. We need, you know, we need to make this thing work, because we'd like to have it every year, just like Westfield has their events every year. Well, thanks a lot, Heather, for all the support you've given us, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah,
It's been
and
wonderful.
of course it'll be promoted through the chamber,
Sure.
you know, email-wise, social media, all that kind of stuff.
And this is it, does a lot also.
They
We have,
really-
3 radio stations involved in this, and Deanna bartered with the radio stations for airtime versus a tent on the street. And, you know, it's working out well. Star Ledger, same thing.
Will there actually be live entertainment?
Yes?
Yeah, because I saw it on here, but like you're talking, besides the DJ, I mean, you're talking real live entertainment.
Lead and Crossroads is going to provide the entertainment, and
Ah.
one group is going to be a big one.
Okay. Are you going to use, quote, Washington School, the Y site at all, or everything on the street?
Everything's going to be, the Family Center is running everything that they're doing on their property. As far as the balloon walkthrough is, they're paying for all that. That doesn't come out of anything that, you know, we had signed for in our contract.
But I think you misunderstand it. We're
No,
doing
I-
beach, and the Y will have everything on that
That's-
property.
Yes. John,
Yeah, on their property. It's going to be on their property. But we are going to put our kids zone right in that area, right where the beach is. That's where all the rides and petting zoo and everything's going to go, so we can bring the people down to the Y.
Sounds good.
Okay, and the people that are going to the Y are definitely going to come out into the festival.
Sarah, I assume you have overtime pay for police in there, in the budget coming up?
There is.
It's always there.
Yeah,
It's
there is
always there,
provision for
okay.
overtime.
There is overtime.
All right, thank you very much, Carol. Appreciate it.
Mayor, is it too early to actually ask that this be put on consent agenda?
It can't go on consent agenda, it's gonna be after.
It'll be
Okay,
after,
that's
as a
fine.
separate.
That's
You
fine.
can't add it on now.
Understood.
Next up, my real reading glasses on here. Okay, next up this evening, we have Mr. Noel Musi, Mr. John Bell, Kinsey Associates, and Mr. Bob Flanagan, on behalf of Flanagan, our contractors for the athletic field project. If you gentlemen would mind, if you could come, we have your setup right over here.
So Mr. Musial has a handout for everyone, which Mr. Musial is up there. He prepared this, it's kind of like a timeline history of the project, and he'll, I guess, comment on that.
Yeah.
I have one extra for Mr. Renaud. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
There you go. Thank you.
This is, Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, please do.
Noel Musial, President of the Musial Group, Architects in Mountainside. I just thought I'd give you a picture view of what's happened since groundbreaking. And the picture on the front is the picture that was taken this morning of the buildings and the site. And then we go through and we have the floor plan and a schedule that I just received from the contractor on Sunday. And then photographs starting, I guess, in April or something like that, going through to today. So it's, just gives you some idea of the happening. And frankly, this is more for the building, because I'm only involved in the building. So this is basically showing you the building. Mr. Bell is here from Kinsey Associates for the site. So, but I thought it'd be important for you to see what was going on until last year. You'll notice a lot of snow as you page through.
Did you have that truck in?
Since I am the liaison, to the athletic field complex, I get to see you guys at least, once a month, if not twice. I guess if you just want to bring the council up to speed as to, other than, the pictures and all the layouts and stuff, I guess just bring everybody up to speed as far as where we're at. We all know that weather is a big factor right now, and that really slows down the project. And from what I gather up here, I think a lot of people just want to know when it's going to be done. But if you can just go through, for me, from now until, the projected time or date, when that could be finished, what other things, still need to get done. So everyone knows.
Okay. The building, as you can see from the photographs, and by the way, it's the type of construction is called SIP, and it's prefabricated floor and wall and roof panels. So once the contractor was able to get that up, and which, by the way, you'll see from the photographs, went relatively quickly. But in terms of the schedule, if you look at the contractor's schedule, he's talking about getting the interior finishes done up until June, and it looks like the final thing that'll be installed will be the kitchen equipment, which will be towards the end of June. So in terms of the building, I think we're looking for the end of June. I think that's right, right? So that's pretty much it. He has the windows, so once everything is framed out inside, he can start installing the windows. that'll be a big help, because right now it's just, temporary protection, as you can see, that isn't the best for doing any finishing materials, but at least he can do some inside work. If you look at the last 2 pages, I think, dated today, the one on the bottom here shows the view with your back to the senior citizen room, looking towards the front door. These will all be sliding glass doors on the left, opening up to the porch. And that's what's facing the field. On the top photographs, those windows are right along here. Now, the other photographs are taken, or one on the bottom is taken from the interior. Your back is to the back wall of the Senior Citizen Center, and you can see he's constructing the wall that will actually go all the way up. That will be for the toilet rooms and a kitchen. The big window in the very front here is where the concession stand is, that will open up to the deck. So you can see he's making quite a bit of progress since he started in January in erecting the SIP panels there at the end of December. So that's basically, in terms of the building, we're looking towards the end of June for completion of the building. And I'll let Mr. Bell comment on the site, which is more at this point whether contingent, I think, than the building, because now that the roof is up, and once the windows go in, we can start finishing the inside.
Thank you, Noel. John Bell, Kinsey Associates, President. The site work itself is, as they say in the trade, pretty much above the ground. It's out of the ground. All the underground work, with the exception of, I think, the gas line that has to be hooked up. And as far as utilities, the power company, I guess when the weather hit, they stopped their installation of the new pole line coming into the site for the new 3-phase service. But other than that, primarily all that remains is finishing. Final cleaning of the topsoil and sodding the baseball field, the installation of the synthetic turf field on the soccer field, finishing path surfaces and completing the paths, even though they're probably close to 90% complete now. Color coding of the basketball court, line striping of the basketball court. And then after all that is done, usually the final stages are lawn area restoration, other than the baseball field, softball field, and purple lawn area restoration, landscaping installation. At this time, they'll also be taking all their excess materials and debris and storage trailer off site. And so the final thing that was typical and the final item that they have, like the last week or two of their schedule, is site restoration, just making sure that everything is picked up, cleaned up, and that everything's complete. Somewhere in that final month period, site work-wise, if not before that, it depends on when it's ready. We'll have our walkthrough and punch list inspection, and as with Noel, when they're at a point where it's appropriate to do punch list inspection, like we're doing with the building. So the proposed ending schedule that has been submitted by Flanagan, I think is reasonable. Actually, even their start is appropriately aggressive as far as building. I think they're reasonable on the site work, but it's really going to depend on the weather. A lot of the site has to dry out before the sod can go down to the baseball field. Even the stone base under the synthetic turf field has to dry out so that they can fine tune the top grade stone. That actually was done, and they were pretty much ready to put the synthetic turf down, and then it snowed. So unfortunately, that snow and the excess moisture and the freeze-thaw cycles are going to throw off the very fine tolerances that are required on a synthetic turf field. So they're basically going to be having to redo that. But the beginning of the work, if we're fortunate and have an early spring, which to me around here is mid-end of March, then they can get started. there's a reasonable amount of work to do, but not a lot of work to do. That's why I say I think their approach is reasonable without being overly aggressive or optimistic, so that I feel that their timeline of the very beginning of July being completely 100% out of there is a reasonable one. It's possible it could be sooner, but I think that's a reasonable expectation.
Bob, I mean, do you have anything to add? I mean, other than, because I've been going down to the site and I speak to Anthony a lot, and I see that things are really starting to move along. And I see that the interior walls are starting to be built, so, you know, soon enough you'll have plumbers in there, electricians and stuff, and things will start to get roughed out.
Basically, everything right now is in temperature dependent. It's been, as we all know, snowing. So, like even the turf, the installed turf is temperature dependent.
Right.
Color coding is temperature dependent. All these items that are the finishes are all, as John said, acting like in 2 weeks the weather is going to be nice and sunny. Yeah,
We're hoping for it.
we're rolling.
Well, thank you, guys. Thanks for at least explaining it. I mean, rather than just me giving it in all of my reports and trying to express things that are going on, you know, other than being down there at the site, you know, they really don't have a feel for, you know, all of the conditions, you know, that do happen. But, you know, thank you guys, you know, for at least coming in and, you know, at least briefing everybody as far as, you know, what's happening down there.
I think the pictures in the presentation, like really saying a lot, and give you a real idea of what goes into the building. You know.
I'm really starting to get excited about it, because when I walked in and finally saw this space, you know, as an architect, I thought, oh man, this is starting to come together now. It's starting to
Right.
look like something, you know, so I'm starting really get excited about the building.
That's what we need. We need you ramped up.
Mary, can we ask questions?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, thank you for coming. I appreciate your schedule. I'm not in the field, so I really don't know how to read this very well. And I understand about the ground being the snow and all that, so why you can't move on that. But the actual building, I mean, is there any reason that the weather's delaying moving on that?
But when it snows 3 days out of the week,
Well, I mean, it hasn't snowed in like a week or so now.
there's been a full crew working. We shouldn't be, actually should not be working with the temperatures that we've been having. We've had a crew of people out there working to push your project along. Basically, it should be shut down, and we're trying to get done what we can get done. We're a union contractor, so when the guys don't work, they don't make any money. They don't make any money. So they want to be laid off if they don't get a full week's worth of work. And we've been doing our best to keep the job going forward and keeping people working. But everything is still temperature dependent. When you have sub-zero temperatures, you can't fit frozen lumber together. When it defrosts, it's going to be a different dimension.
Is that what you mean by you should have shut the job down?
Pretty much.
The wood is frozen, so it can't be.
The whole job should have been shut down. Basically, when you take this project from when we started it, which it got pushed to a later date, we ran into last winter, and now with the dirt issues, that put us into another winter. Technically, we shouldn't even be here around. The building should be completed, your whole site should be completed, and you should be waving goodbye to us.
That's what we're behaving ourselves up here tonight. For some reason, we've had an awful lot of frustration around that, you know, the past several months. So
We're frustrated too when you have a time loss of over 200 days in a project due to not getting answers done.
200 days?
Yeah, you have over 200 days
Of what?
for the hazardous soil removal. I don't have a copy for everybody, but you're more than welcome to cast about and make copies.
Can I just ask another question?
Yes.
Is there a reason why the windows aren't in yet? On this last page of pictures, I see these were taken today.
They're in the process of going in. They have to seal the roof up first. If I put windows in and it rains or snows, the windows will be ruined. They're not.
And the
They're
windows-
only weather tight from the outside. They're not weather tight from the inside.
Right, so, and the roof's not sealed?
The roof is not sealed. I believe they were doing the second roof this morning, and they probably have to paper it in, it'll be papered in by the end of the week, and the windows will follow. The windows are on site, it's not, they'll go in as soon as they can.
And this wood exposed to the elements all this time is not gonna be a problem?
No, nothing that is, nothing you see in the pictures is going to be exposed longer.
I'm sorry?
Nothing that you see exposed is going to expose longer than it's supposed to be. Exterior plywood. is meant to take place.
Any other questions?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. First off, as has already been said, thanks for coming in tonight, really do appreciate it. I know we have nothing like meetings, so I appreciate it. Lou and Mike kind of said it best, which is, we really just wanted to hear from you guys specifically, where we were with the project. And Mike indicated we're, sort of on best behavior up here. Can't express the frustration enough. We really wanted to have the 2014 baseball season, start there. Now it looks as if
A lot of this has been out of Flanagan's control. A lot of this has been in your professionals and getting answers. We've had a lot of stuff that has come up in the 200 days that has been rectified, which normally wouldn't have been rectified in that time. You had a power problem, which got rectified within those 200 days. You had a water problem, which got rectified within those 200 days. Same thing with the gas. We're just getting gas service now. This has been applied for when we started the project. Very frustrating for me because I'm the guy writing the checks out. And 200 days of having a project supervisor and a superintendent on the site.
You have the project supervisor
And a project manager that's on site.
How much time do they actually spend? Do they work multiple projects, or they're blowing us for months, or what?
So the two men that are on your project have been assigned to your project and are here every day.
So my question was going to be, we've been given different timeframes, different deadlines, and I understand there are constraints, okay? You think we're gonna make this?
Yes.
Yes? So, site cleanup, July 15th, so, what's the first event we can have there? Your birthday?
Don't make it the 16th.
I'm trying to think, if we're gonna miss the 4th, we're gonna miss the 4th, I'm trying to think, like.
If the weather corrects itself and we have time built into the schedule, we should be done before that. But if the weather continues in the cycle that we're having, we can't guarantee that. If basically you have, the turf has to be glued down, has to be 50 degrees and rising, can't freeze at night. So if that doesn't change until the end of May, that's when the turf is going to go in. Same thing with the color coding. That cannot happen until we have ambient temperatures. We're going to complete the building. We're going to complete the sodding of the field. Everything else will be completed. Anything that is temperature sensitive is going to throw the schedule off.
And, you're our contractor, you are our professionals. Anything that you guys can do, okay, to meet this deadline, meet this timeframe, we greatly appreciate it.
We're going to try to do it for you.
Thank you.
So the other side of the coin, I don't know if you have any, is there an update on, are we on target financially? Do we have change requests, all that stuff? What kind of shape are we in there? None yet? Okay. Never mind.
We're not over budget, we haven't authorized any change orders to date.
Oh, okay.
Can we talk about change orders?
Not here.
Okay.
Actually, I just wanted to follow up on that. So do you gentlemen, and welcome, thank you very much for coming, okay? Are there any bogeys on the horizon? Do you see any change orders or any cost overruns on the horizon?
I don't know what your final budget is on the project. There are change orders in the system. there are change orders that you guys have been requesting. So,
That we've been requesting?
yeah, like security cameras.
You haven't seen it yet, Councilman.
If I
They haven't
could-
seen any of that yet.
if I could add some information, I just got the revised change order request from Flanagan's today. I, unfortunately, as usual, part of it needed to be broken down a little bit more, so I responded to Roger, Bob's brother, and asked him to give us a little bit more information from one of his subcontractors, electrical stuff. The numbers look to be the right order of magnitude, but still, we need to see how it's broken down between, materials and labor, and to be able to properly justify it to you.
Well, and forgive the terrible pun that's being used over and over again. Can you ballpark the number of the order of magnitude, what we're talking about? And I'm not gonna hold you to it. Is it 10,000, 50,000, 100,000?
Well, the original quote from RFP Solutions was 26,000, and I believe, if I remember correctly, the number from Flanagan's subcontractor was about, I think, like 14,800 or 15,000, and he had his appropriate 5% on top of that, so it was right around 50, 52, something like that.
50,000?
I'm sorry, I can't anymore.
Well, 40.
45, something like that.
So you're talking about 40, okay, and that's above and beyond. And I guess, again, switching over to where we are, that taps into that $100,000 bond, the contingency that we have?
No, we're still in the contingency with that.
We're still within the contingency, that was my question.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, if I may, I think it's important to point out that that was for security cameras, et cetera, that were requested by the borough on the field and on the building. This was not something that was within the,
Do we know
the
who
scope of
requested
work.
that? Do we know who requested that?
What's that?
Security cameras.
When you say the borough, who requested that?
Well, at our construction meetings, we talk about various things for the project, and this is something that actually did come up, and the chief, had some input as far as, location for cameras, and this is one of the change orders that we're looking at. Nothing's been done for it at this time, but that is something that, we did look at.
Okay, just one thing I want to express on this, and again, this is, nothing directed in a negative way. When you say the borough, we're the borough, we represent the borough. And it's a little different, as I'm sure you know, Mr. Flanagan, dealing with the public entity than dealing with the private entity. The private entity, you have a guy, that's his job, he says yes or no, he hangs up the phone. We have to approve those things. So the borough, anything that comes to you has to be approved by us. And I just want to make sure that that's crystal clear, that nothing is approved or in process until this council has voted on it. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows about that. And this is the
That
first.
has been expressed to us a number of times.
Yeah, because you know what, it can't happen any other way.
That's right.
No, I'm saying, it can't, I mean, legally, and just cannot happen.
Your administrator has said that to us a number of times, every meeting.
I'd like to thank our administrator for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very kind, very kind.
And-
Mr. Musio works on many public projects
Yes, I do.
for years, yeah.
And again, just actually, something that was, my colleague and I were talking about here. Are there any other change orders that we're thinking of? Now, you talked about one coming from the borough, figuratively. Is there anything coming from your side?
Let me interject. There are 6 change orders pending right now there were 7, but one is completely rejected, that's the fencing. Of those 6, they are a very small dollar amount. The first 2 were removing a couple trees, a couple that were some drainage and some other issues like that. Those will be presented to you for approval the next council meeting. All that work has already been done. It was done, it had to be done, it was holding up the project. It's not what I would consider earth-shattering stuff. The thing that has been mentioned, the security system, that came to me today, so you would get that from me, presented as a change order for your consideration. That would never be approved or authorized without your approval. To my knowledge, and Lou, maybe you can help me with this, there are no other big ticket change orders that we're aware of at this time, is that correct?
No, they're all small items. They're all things that Unfortunately, Don's not here, and he has more of the knowledge with them as far as, I think there was a water pit and stuff like that. You know, it's all small stuff. It's all stuff that had to get done in order to keep the project moving.
Actually, I already presented those to you all at a previous council meeting, but we decided not to move on them because we wanted some more information, if you all recall them. So those are the ones that I'm talking about, and then the security system one, I just got it today, so obviously you haven't seen any of those numbers yet.
All right, I mean, do we know what's small, and do we know what the definition of big ticket is?
To me, small is a couple $1,000. To me, big is $40,000, $50,000. But these small ones are all, Lou, is there anything even over, guys, is there anything even over $5,000 on those first 6? Individually, not collectively.
I don't think so.
No, they're really,
Can I just speak, come up to the microphone?
yeah, this is Christine, she's from planning as well. And again, you've seen those already, we just didn't pass it, we put it on the agenda.
Well, I just have a couple questions, and I'm Christine Flanagan, hello everybody. We have change orders that are pending, and the work has been done, so I would like to address what we need to address to get them moving.
Well, that's not,
I understand. but my
that
other
I have to
question-
present it to them first before you can question my.
That I
don't know
totally
what you're
understand, but
talking about.
can I finish speaking? So
Sure,
that's why-
sure.
What I'd just like to know is, I've been doing construction for 35 years, so we have a project to complete. And throughout projects, there's always change orders. You're not gonna get away with that, not that we wanna do them. So if we have the project to complete and we run into a change order, I respect what Jim's saying, you're a board and you have to approve them. You want the project done by a certain date. How do we proceed if your meeting's today, tomorrow we run into a problem, we need a change order approved? How are we gonna handle it? Do we walk away from the job for 30 days or 14 days?
Christina, I'm sorry, but you weren't at all construction meetings, and we've discussed this at every single meeting. I've outlined the procedure 101 times. You can't, if you come to us and say, this is holding up the job, we've approved small change orders for a couple dollars, but there hasn't been anything big holding you up on a change order. So,
But you're
the answer
saying
to your
you
question-
approved them.
Your
but they're
answer
still
to your
not
question is
paid.
they have got to be approved by council before you can
No,
move
and
on
I
it.
understand that. What I'm just trying to say is how do we prevent it
You
from
come to
delaying
me,
the project?
and if you tell me it's delayed, and I feel that it's gonna delay the project, I will do what I need to do to tell you either hold it off or go forward. And we haven't had that, so we have not had a situation where you called me and said, this change order is gonna hold the job. So, if that happens, we'll take care of it. But if it's a big ticket item, and it's something that requires this council's approval, I'm not gonna tell you to do it. And no one here is gonna tell me to tell you to do it, so it'll have to
I
wait.
just wanted clarity because.
It's
one
been made
person
very
said-
clear at our construction meetings. I'm sorry you're not there, but it's,
I don't attend them.
well, it's very clear.
Okay,
You can't change the scope of the project without approval of the council.
okay, I just don't want to delay the project if we have
We
something
haven't
that
had that
comes up.
problem. Should we have it, I would certainly call the mayor immediately, and she would advise me what to do.
Okay. I don't have that off the top of my head.
And then, Mayor, I just want to clarify this. We ran into this problem before on this project. So there is work that has been completed and change orders that have been approved, and we can say, no, we're not going to pay for them? Is that correct? Or we must say yes?
That's a legal question, I think your opinion is advised.
I'm not going to advise anybody on anything. This whole discussion is really inappropriate in all candor and ought to stop. So that's, as far as I'm concerned, it's the end of the discussion. I mean, we're not going to litigate a case here while we're sitting at a council meeting, and it's not, if nobody has any questions that relate to the project and how it ought to go, arguing about who's responsible for what is just not appropriate.
Okay, well, with all due respect, the fact that there has been change orders that have been submitted, work that has been done, that in the aggregate can total $30,000 by the clerk's rule of thumb, is to me very disturbing. And you can then say, as a legislator, I'm allowed to vote yes, or I'm allowed to vote no on this. It sounds to me like I'm being presented with a fait accompli, and this is very troubling. So it's not whose responsibility it is, Mr. Renaud. I'm looking at a macro issue of, so work can be done, bills can be submitted, And I, as a legislator, can vote no. And I'm not asking that. I'm stating that. All right? Please understand that.
Well, you have a contract that's got a, really, I don't really want to have this discussion, but I'll continue it for a little while. You have a contract that has a contingency in it, and so that's already been authorized. You can't, I mean, as a practical matter, when you do public contracting, I agree with you that you can't have change orders without approval of the council. On the other hand, you can't go to the council with every single thing that comes up. So if a tree falls, what some of this relates, as I recall, am I right, that had the trees that fell?
No, I took care of those, I paid for those, these were additional trees. But it's sort of along those lines, trees outside the scope that we didn't capture in the scope. They were in the way, they would have delayed the project. The total of the trees is $2,500.
Yeah, we can discuss at some other time what we ought to do, I suppose, with procedures, but that the procedure is the way that the procedure has been going. I mean, there are really relatively few change orders, in my understanding, at least at relatively small order of magnitude.
Thank you, Mr. Renard. Let's move along, please. Anything else? See anybody chomping at the bit out in the audience? Mr. Gennady?
Gene Gennady, 440 Spruce Avenue. I just have a question about the basketball court. It's just a minor question, but it looks like there's a 6-foot fence behind the basket, and that's all it is just 6-foot fence. And I was concerned about the balls leaving the basketball court and going into the street because the fence isn't high enough. Is that a temporary fence, or is that going to be the final fence?
That's the final fence.
Okay, so I still have that concern about balls leaving the basketball court and going into the street. So,
And then again, my partner, Gordon Brown, was the one who worked up the preliminary and final design. I have a suspicion, because we've run into this before, that, one of the reasons perhaps a much taller fence wasn't constructed is because it gives the appearance of a compound. So it may have been as much aesthetics or the feel of the area than anything else.
okay, I still have the same concern though.
Okay, noted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gennady. Anyone else while the professionals are here with regard to the site? Seeing no other questions, I want to thank you gentlemen very much for coming in. We do appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Mr. Coriello is excused this evening. He's not here. Do we have any construction that we need to? Mr.
You
Renard?
up to me? Thank you, Mayor. Let's see. I did, at the request of the council, an ordinance for proposal for commuter parking in Kennedy Plaza. That's been, I believe that's been distributed to you, but it's not on the agenda. I assume we'll put that on for next meeting unless there are any comments or questions or changes that you want.
Mr. Renard told me to hold it off so you can review it. Do you have any questions presented to him now?
Yeah, I do have one question. I did read it. One of my questions was, it talks about how long a length of time is for the permit, purchase the permit. Okay, so you go and you buy the permit quarterly. Can somebody then kind of bump somebody else out if they don't get in there? How are the people gonna be notified that, well, your time is up,
Well, we have it now. What have we been doing?
Well,
Yeah,
Except that nobody
except nobody's gotten permits so far, I guess.
Well, ShopRite is in and out, like for the, whatever they had it maybe for, 8 years now, or 10 years. Sometimes the lots, sometimes all the spaces are rented, and what we do is we keep a record of who's renting what. And when the license is set to expire, we send them out a notice saying, you know, the license is set to expire. Most of those people know when it's gonna expire, and then there's mails in a check to renew it. So a bumping off problem doesn't happen. We wouldn't really relinquish someone's spot that we feel we know is gonna renew it. So I don't anticipate any problem with renting the 5 spots, and.
No, I don't, I just didn't know what the deal
Well, I
was.
think that what we would do is we'll use the same system that we use for ShopRite, and if we know that that's a renter that's gonna wanna keep that spot, we certainly wouldn't just automatically, if somebody else came in there, but, you know, the day it expired, just
Well, that's what I mean.
go to the walls. No, we'll definitely keep on top of it.
All right. That was all I wanted to know. I didn't know what the final outcome was with the spots over there, because I never heard anything about it after years later.
ShopRite?
ShopRite.
ShopRite, it's, you know, we use those spots to most of the employees, the ShopRite makes the employees buy those spots and from us and rent, and use them.
That's all I had. Does anybody have any, oh, did you have anything else?
No, there were a couple of things that were confidential attorney-client things that we took care of that you all know about. And other than that, I would say, no, that's pretty much it.
Does anybody have anything for Mr. Renat? No? Thank you very much. We move into our various reports. Ms. Ariana?
Okay, my report is written right there, and I'll just read it for the townwide yard sale is set for June 21st, 2014. The first vote is June 23rd, and the second is October 20th. Pending council approval will be a resolution on tonight's consent agenda. Website update, the site is completed by the vendor. I have to go in and update and clean up some items, add some items as well. I have to add some pictures. Also, I have to redirect the site so it retains the www.garwood.org address. I emailed you this evening a link so you may view the site. Please keep in mind that it's not completely finished. Also, email any comments you've had to me, and I'll do my best to wrap this up soon. When you go in there, you're going to see a lot of old information because they were working off the site that has old information, so I got to go in there and clean that up. And I will give it my, I will do my best to get it done as fast as possible.
I don't know if anyone else has had the opportunity to look at, I know it's lovely.
I did, I saw it before we came to the meeting, and it looks great, it looks nice and professional, just what we were asking for, so thank you for that, Tina.
That's the rest of what needs to be done, shouldn't take that long.
If I may add too, when I pulled it up today on my phone, actually, from your email, I saw the mobile site.
Yes.
So that is very exciting, that it'll be much, much more user-friendly when the time comes for residents to access the site on their phone. And hopefully that becomes a real tool to engage in communication with the residents and make it more accessible to them. Yes. So thank you for that.
That's all I have. I'm sorry, that's all I have.
Do we have any unfinished business? Any new business? To discuss this evening? Well, why don't we do it this way? Council President Plummer, do you have anything you want to bring to the
Thank you, Mayor. I did write up something to talk about, which was the ordinance that we already covered with Mr. Renaud. So if everyone else had opportunity to look at that parking ordinance and did, ask no questions this evening, can we ask Tina to please put it on the agenda for next meeting? Did we do that already? Okay, missed that. All right. There's also, in our packets, we received, I don't know if it was email and I printed it or if it came in our packets, to tell you the truth, but we received 2 proposals, one for redevelopment and one for the COA application. Are we going to be discussing that this evening? Were you planning on bringing it up this evening?
That goes to the planning board first for recommendation, then it'll come here.
Okay.
The planning board is
Well,
tomorrow evening.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. The proposal for redevelopment study goes to back to the planning board? Where are we with that? I'm confused.
I know,
That
I know-
that got tennis ball back and forth, so I'm,
yeah,
I'm
I know
lost where
COA,
that is.
I know COA has to be back. Redevelopment, we're talking obviously the paperboard site.
Right.
I'm trying to think, was the recommendation? I couldn't swear it.
So we don't know where we are with this?
Off the top of my head. I
We
don't
sent the
know.
resolution, we passed the resolution
Right.
directing the
Planning
planning board
board,
to do a study.
right.
We've received a quote, proposal to ascertain a professional to
Right, and we received the
perform that
proposal. I'm
study.
wondering where it is. Did it go to the planning board?
No, it hasn't gone to the planning
Okay,
board,
so
because
that'll be
the
tomorrow night.
mayor and council will be approving it, because the mayor, money is not in the planning board's budget at this time, however.
Right, but I was looking for the planning board to review it and concur and make a
So
recommendation to
this
council.
proposal that we received here that came to Tina has to go to the planning board to approve?
I would like it to, since it is a land use proposal. I mean,
Okay,
the
so
planning
then-
board is actually gonna be working with that consultant, not the council. So I would
Okay.
like the planning board to look at it first, yes.
So did this go to the planning
No.
board?
That's exactly where I was
Okay,
headed.
but I'm
to, so
writing it
the
down
answer
right
is no.
now, and they'll have it tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. So Tina, you'll forward this proposal to the planning board, and then that's not gonna go on for tomorrow's planning board agenda. That'll probably be next month.
Depending upon what's on the agenda, we'll see if we can distribute it tomorrow night and talk, but I'll talk to Tina and see if we can do it.
Bill?
If we can't, we can't.
If I may, I'm only asking because I feel that we've been very slow in getting this moved, this whole redevelopment, since the beginning that we've been talking about this. I feel like we've been talking about this and it's been a very slow process. So we now have a proposal, so I would hope that it doesn't take another month for the planning board to have to talk about this, and then another month to come back to a council meeting for us to approve what the planning board did. I mean, this is gonna go on another 3 months before we tell whoever this is, yes, go ahead and do the, whatever the next step is. So if we can possibly get this on tomorrow night's planning board agenda, so that we can probably get back in 2 weeks.
So noted.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Councilman Moore, do you have anything for workshop?
No.
Okay. Councilman Matthew?
Yes, Mayor. I just want to follow up on the last meeting, discussion of the LoSAP, and also the unanimous recommendation of the Fire Committee from 2013. According to Mr. Renaud's memo, I'd like to get a resolution on the agenda for the next meeting to increase the length of service award program to the appropriate amount for 2014, or if it's been published, or 2013's length of service award program with the CPI, the one that doesn't occasion a referendum, of course. And then to my colleagues on the Finance Committee, I noticed also in the memo, it says here that this then needs to be included as a line item in the budget. So we can get this on for next meeting, and then go ahead, it would be in timely to get this in to the budget. And I don't, again, forgive me for being so presumptuous, it was unanimous committee recommendation last time. I have not heard anyone who's against it. So if anybody is, please let me know, but I would really like to see that happen next meeting.
To follow up too, we will be, I actually had that as one of my workshop reports as well, touching on that LoSAP issue a little bit. It will be something that the council will be discussing during our next meeting, which is actually the special budget meeting on March 6th. So we will have discussion at that time as well.
Okay, so but that won't impact putting a resolution on, right? We'll have a
No,
resolution on.
in my opinion, no.
Okay, good. So I just wanted to make sure. I just, because last time I think there was just a little confusion as to where things stood. Okay? That's all I got.
Thank you. Councilman Mearscott?
Thank you, Mayor. 4 quick things. I'm sure everybody knows already, but just to make sure, I attended the Raritan Valley Line Rail Coalition meeting last week. They have implemented the first phase, or actually next Monday, they will be implementing the first phase of their one-seat ride into New York. It's good. I'm glad they're finally moving. Couple of concerns. The first phase, for those who don't know, is weekday off-peak. we will be able to have trains on the Raritan Valley line go right from our stops here to New York without having to change in I don't really, it's great, it's good, it's a good start. I don't really think it's going to, like, pull people in. Next, they'll be working on phase 2, which is the weeknight off-peak. Third is weekends. Weekends I thought would have been the easiest because there are fewer trains. But what I've learned throughout this whole process is they actually shut one of the tunnels down over the weekend. So while there are half as many trains, there's only half as many tunnels. So that makes it difficult. And fourth phase is the weekday peak. While asked repeatedly, New Jersey Transit did not offer any date for when weekday peak would be implemented.
What about the other 2 phases?
Those neither.
No dates on any of the phases?
Nope.
Not
All
even
they
for
tell
the
you
next
is
one?
as
Wow.
soon as feasible, as soon as they can, as soon as. What I do want to mention to the council, and I mentioned to the mayor in a phone call last week, is during the day, during the off-peak day, we only have 2 trains that stop here. And in a direct question to them, they responded to me that even with the 1C ride, we'll continue to only have those 2 trains. And I was disappointed because I thought that would have been a great opportunity since they were amending the schedule anyway, that they could actually have included a stop on all of those trains, which would have been 3 additional trains to stop in Garwood. I was given a short shrift on an answer. I actually spoke to the mayor about putting together a letter and at least letting New Jersey Transit know of our happiness that they're implementing this, but our sadness that we're not benefiting as much as we could. That's number 1. Number 2 is I have mentioned to council the bills regarding the liability and the emergency workers, ambulance squad, EMS, everyone Fraser. The bottom line is, as I indicated last time, Governor Christie let them die in his desk last legislative session. There has been a new bill introduced in the Assembly, it's A2025. It's out of the judiciary and it's on second reading in the Assembly, but there is no Senate bill yet. I will continue to work on that. Third is, the mayor mentioned a couple of times in the past my hopes regarding the emergency management coordinator. I know he just started in January, it's now the end of February. I keep bringing this up because we had no report in 2013 from the emergency management coordinator at that time. The borough still does not have an adopted plan. The snow, I forget which snowstorm, but the big one, I was actually wondering if maybe that should have been something that required him to step in. Particularly now that we are talking about the next item actually on the agenda, my agenda, which is asking FEMA for some reimbursement of funds. Where are we with the emergency management coordinator? How's his job going, and when do you think you'll see him?
You should be seeing him shortly. I did meet with him and speak with him in person. He has been attempting to schedule a meeting with the county. We need to have what are called the annexes, which the chief did for the police department, there's one for the fire department, and a couple others approved, and then they're kicked back to us, and then we approve the plan. So that's where we are right now. This meeting was postponed a little bit because they were attending to the snow emergency. So I will get back with Mr. Horner, because I will probably be seeing him again within about a week. And
That'd be great. Mayor, I
and
know
lean
I,
on him, and we'll get,
yeah, I
it
know
was
I
a
keep
big,
bringing this
big
up, but
project.
I understand that, but
It's big, yeah.
it's over, and I know we've had different people, but it's over a year, council hasn't heard anything, the borough is still operating without a plan.
I just want to mention, I snow blow the emergency manager's driveway every time it snows, and we're very close, so maybe I'll mention it as well.
Where did you direct the snow?
No comment.
Last item, one of the items that Tina handed out tonight is regarding what I quickly mentioned earlier regarding a request to FEMA for snow assistance. I hope everyone's had a chance to read it tonight, and I would ask that that be put on the agenda for adoption tonight. Does anyone have any concerns on it after reading it?
No, but that was forwarded to him as well.
To, the emergency management?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Great.
Oh, yeah,
Great.
because everything was, that's one of
And his recommendation is?
the, I don't know yet, I just,
All right, if we can get that on the agenda
Land it
tonight,
today.
that'd be appreciated.
I'm a little out of the computer when
And Mayor, that's
the
it.
computer died, so,
Sorry about that. And that's it, thank you.
all right, thanks. Councilman Petrozelli?
No report, Mayor. I don't have any.
I think you have a good report.
Yeah.
Yes,
I need to know that.
Councilwoman Federico.
Yes, Mayor, I have a couple items. The first one here, I just want to take a couple minutes and remind the council of the freeholder rotating schedule. I went to one meeting in January since Councilman Matthew couldn't go, and I'm not sure if you were able to make the one after that, or if Councilman Yursa, if you were able to go
Thursday night.
in February.
Thursday night.
Right, it is a Thursday night. If you need another copy of the dates.
No, I'm saying it's this Thursday night.
Okay, so you plan on going to that?
Yes.
Great, thanks. I do know we're very busy and we have a lot of
Yes.
meetings on our own and it's another meeting, and I understand that, but, it is nice to bring those reports back to the council if there's anything interesting going on down in Elizabeth with the freeholders, so. And then the next month would be Councilman Martin, month of March. The next item I have is about the recycling contract. I've spoken with Councilman Neerstead about this prior to this meeting, as he's Streets and Roads Chairman, basically about where we're at with our recycling contract and the privatization of garbage. And of course, I don't know if I would or would not support the privatization of garbage and or selling the recycling. However, it's something I have brought up for a while, and I am very curious as to whether the borough could have the DPW collect and sell recycling if they were to privatize garbage like other towns do. Although I am wary of privatizing garbage without selling the recycling as the other component, but I don't obviously have enough information, nor do I have the numbers to base that, to make that kind of decision yet. But obviously this is something that's been on my radar for a while, and I also was going back in, well, first of all, I would like to say, and this might be a little repetitive, but if we were to sell the recycling, the benefits are we, first of all, don't have to pay someone to take our recycling out. And secondly, we could also hopefully add another day for residents to have their recycling picked up. So it would go to once a week instead of once every 2 weeks like it is now. So it could be an added service there. And I was looking back in my emails and I noticed one from Tina about our recycling contract that expires July 1st, 2014, only a few months from now. Before you know it, we'll be there. And she said in the email she would need time to bid it if we were to go out for bid again, or she would need a decision or a recommendation, well, she would need a decision from the council as to whether or not to extend it 1 year or 2 years. So I'm just wondering where the Streets and Roads Committee is on this issue. I know it's something we spoke about, but if you'd like to share anything on that.
Not really, it's not an easy decision, there's a lot to it. You mentioned about saving money in terms of having additional pickups perhaps for residents. Well, we might have to buy new trucks.
Well, that's
There is
another
a
thing
lot-
that
There's a lot
I would like
involved,
to
it's on our radar too, we're doing it, and the only thing I can say to you is that it will be a recommendation.
Okay. Recommendation within the next month, you think?
Hope so,
Would be
yes.
fair?
That sounds
Okay.
good, sure.
Because I know she stressed time in her email, as I'm sure you remember too.
Yes, I do.
So, okay, thank you. And then I have a couple other things. A couple procedural items that I've thought about that I think would be helpful for the council would be if we could know if special guests like the architect or water company are coming to the meeting or if they're not. And I know we touched on that a little last week, but I would like to add to that too, that I think it would be helpful to know as well if our engineer will be at a meeting or not, if our borough attorney will be at a meeting or not, if our borough administrator will be at a meeting or not. Of course, I know that we get sick, there's emergencies, sometimes maybe we won't know, but if at all we can because it's a planned trip or a planned absence, then I think that would be beneficial for the council to know. Perhaps we should get notified via email, especially because sometimes we often prepare questions in advance, and I know it's something I ran into last meeting,
Right.
Councilman Palmer too. So it would be good to know, since we are preparing the questions in advance, if they are coming or not. And even, to throw another idea out there, even special guests, like tonight we had ShopRite. Last week it was a gentleman from the fire department with 55 years. If we could know that ahead of time, I think it would be beneficial to the council. But I would leave that up to the mayor and the rest of the council to discuss as well.
I can make a suggestion there.
Sure.
That would be, they're always on the workshop agenda, and maybe I could start including that with your Friday packet.
Oh, that would be great.
Sometimes I don't have it completely ready, so
Right.
I might make an updated one at the day of the meeting, but what I have, I can start just doing that.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I was gonna suggest that as well.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
And that would tell us what professionals are not gonna attend the meeting also?
No, it won't say that, I'll send you an email.
That would be a separate email, okay.
Yeah, I just want to
Makes
say,
sense.
Councilwoman, to this guy, I definitely agree with you on that. I didn't know that, I'm fire commissioner, I didn't know that we were honoring a member of the fire department. And also, I was introducing myself to one of the women from ShopRite tonight, and she said, oh, we're here for Heather's thing in nutrition. And I was like, okay. And she was just kind of taken aback that I was a councilman, I didn't know about it. It would, I think, be better if we should share that. Because otherwise I'm left to play, why are there new faces here? And I
Right.
kind of go and, pretend like I know, oh, yeah. I
Right,
think
right.
that's a fabulous.
When we have a full room, we may get nervous too, so,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah. It's about me, yeah, exactly.
I know, whatever, I'll tell you what, whatever's firmed up by Friday, you'll have it on me.
Okay,
What's
I
the
appreciate,
workshop agenda? Sometimes things are
Right.
added or
right,
football's out there.
right. But
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate that, thank you. That's all I have.
Even a Monday email update would be helpful too, for those of us who read our emails regularly.
Yes. When you get it to your phone, it's just.
Okay.
If I could just make a comment on that, Mayor. I personally, I don't want to be difficult, but I prefer that you contact me before the meeting. I think I've asked a number of times that people not play stump the lawyer. I don't like candidly hearing questions for the first time when you expect answers in a meeting. I mean, sometimes that's unavoidable, but I think I've made myself available to everybody and anybody who has any questions or comments, so I'd like to know, not at the meeting, but ahead of time if you have questions that relate to my area.
Councilman Beresco, I don't know if you're done with your report, but you have that other matter that.
I was going to include that in the finance.
I
Would you
know,
rather,
I think that then it's gonna be a resolution, and you're not gonna have a chance to talk about it, right?
but will we talk about it after my report or no? Because the report,
I
the
just don't like
finance.
waiting for the last minute, because I don't understand.
Okay, I mean, either way, it's fine. Okay, so basically,
That way.
the chief of police approached the finance committee about purchasing vehicles. The resolution, I believe, is going out in front of you now. So this is something, thank you. Let's see, this one's from me. So we'll see it later as a resolution, but basically, to give a little background, the chief of police approached the finance committee about purchasing vehicles. Now, he typically makes purchases every 2 years of vehicles, and this is done within his operating budget. They are paid over 2 years, and when they are paid for and drop out, essentially, that's when he adds 2 more and removes 2 of the older cars from the lineup, so to speak. So what that does is, first of all, it keeps the budget flat for new equipment for his department, and by rotating them out sooner, you do benefit from them holding more of their value when you go to sell them. And even in this case, we have actually 3 cars to be discussed, and we already have an interested party in at least 2 of those vehicles, I believe, if not all of them.
One that I know of.
1 definitely, okay. So we do have an interested party in at least 1 vehicle.
They go to auction in any way.
Right.
There are plenty of people who are anxious to have them.
Right, so, right, so essentially, if you replace older cars sooner, then they have their value and you can get more when they're put up for auction. So this has been something that Chief Underhill has implemented, and we've followed in the past. So this year, it would be, so to speak, the dropout year, and this would be when he approached us, which he did. So he approached us this time though, to replace or switch out 2 cars, but also he has an older chief's car as well as an older captain's car, I believe 2006 and 2005. So he's looking to have the 2005 replaced as well, so this is an unmarked vehicle. So in order to have 3 replaced, he has proposed to us purchasing 3 this year under his budget and spreading the payments over 3 years as opposed to 2. And then in 3 years, that's when we would be making replacements to that. And what this does on the budget side is has a very small impact on the new equipment. Actually, that is close to flat, I would say. So 3 cars to switch out 3 of our older ones, which would go up for auction as has been done in the past. These 3 are recommended to be Ford Explorers essentially, and that was a recommendation by the police chief. And so we do support the police chief in doing this, especially considering that it's within means in his operating budget. This is not coming to us as a capital request. This is something he does pretty routinely by now in his operating budget. So that is something that the Finance Committee supports, and there will be a resolution deleted from the consent agenda tonight about that. If there's any questions, maybe we should discuss it now, to follow Tina's advice to us.
Did I just hear you say deleted from the consent agenda?
It's not on the agenda at all.
Right, it's not on the consent.
Not on the agenda, so
No.
we should.
Then it has.
Added to, because I thought you said deleted from.
I don't-
It wouldn't be added to the consent, it's just a separate resolution.
Right,
And
it's,
that section of the agenda says deleted from the consent agenda.
right, that's what I was referring to.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
You said one vehicle was 2005, one was 06, what was the other one?
Well, the 06 is another unmarked that would not
So
be
it's
replaced.
two from 06.
It's 1 from 06 and the 2 regular.
Our 2010s, they're the duty cars.
Duty cars.
Time to rotate them out.
And I totally understand time to rotate police cars out, just out of curiosity, probably know where I'm headed. What's the mileage?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, 60 something maybe, no?
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna go well at auction. Top of it. This was a program, this leasing program, that was started by Chief prior to me. And we've been doing this all along, it's worked out well.
Yes.
And also, I would say that these vehicles that we're purchasing, the Explorer utility police interceptors, they're about $2,000 less than the Tahoes. Although the Tahoes are great, we like them a lot, they're roomy. These are all-wheel drive, and they're a little bit smaller inside, but I think they'll do just fine for this town.
And I know they're all hybrids, right?
Let me do it.
Well, Prius is now.
Appreciate you thinking about that for the future.
They're not electric yet.
Down. Thank you, man.
All right, anything else? Workshop? Okay, we're gonna move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, state your full name and address, and it would be appreciated if you could limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes.
Good evening, Chief Janai, 440 Spruce Avenue. I would like to, based on my comments earlier this evening, have the council consider what I consider a safety issue with the basketball court. Us smaller, older people may not be able to reach the basket any longer, throw that thing into the street. And so I would hate to have a car accident because of ball going into the street. Worse, I'd hate to have someone chase the ball into the street and get hit by a car. I do not think that the fence ought to be around the 4 sides, only the side facing the street and possibly a little bit on each side of the corner to avoid the ball going into the street. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. And we can adjourn our workshop session. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, thank you. 5, 6 minutes, please.